Hi, Matt with eTrailer, and today we're talking about the Yakima Roof Rack on top of our 2024 Kia Telluride. Now this is going to be a great option for the Telluride because the Telluride is mainly more of a vehicle for if you want to drive around with your family. And if you are driving around with your family, you're probably going to encounter at some point where you need to store some extra luggage. And if you're driving with a group of people, you're not going to have any room for that. So that's going to leave you two options. Either they use some type of hitch mounted accessory or put it on top of your roof. And if you're already using your hitch or you don't already own a hitch, then a rooftop is going to be a great option for you. With the roof rack we have today, this is going to work with raised rails. So it is important you make sure you do have those. A good way you can check is if you can stick your hand underneath the rails on your vehicle and grab it, and then you got raised rails. If you don't, you probably got either flush rails or a naked roof. And if you're unsure if this is going to be the right fit for you, you can actually plug in your vehicle's information into our fit guide to find what's going to be the best fit for you. But today we're mainly going to be focusing on how this fits on our vehicle. We'll talk a little bit about the specs too, and I'll give a comparison later on. And at the very end, I'll show you how to install this too. So if you are curious just about installing it, just skip to the end and we'll show you how to do that. Earlier, I know I was talking about how you could put a lot of different items on top of your roof, anything like luggage, and to do that, other accessories are going to make that a lot easier. Anything from a roof box, or if you want to carry a kayak up here too, or in our case, we threw up a roof basket, just kind of show you how all this is going to work. This is going to be comprised of two parts. So the first part is going to be our 60-inch crossbars, and those are going to be the JetStream ones. And beneath that, we're going to have our Yakima towers. So the way our Yakima JetStream crossbars are going to work, they're going to have this thicker side to them in front and this thinner side behind us. That's going to help them be more aerodynamic, just to help reduce that wind noise. Something else that's going to help reduce wind noise is going to be this T-channel up top. It's going to have a built-in weather strip to prevent any debris or water from getting in there and any whistling from occurring. Now this is also going to be really good for any of your clamp-on accessories, like the one we have up here. It's going to be able to wrap around here pretty easily, and it's going to work on or work with most clamp-on accessories too. And underneath we're also going to have another T-channel. That T-channel is going to be for or to mount your Yakima towers. And the way your Yakima towers work is they're going to have a lot of mechanisms behind this end cap that tighten everything in place. And that's where you're going to have the very end of your strap connect. So if someone were to come by, they wouldn't be able just to loosen this up and take it off. But if you are worried about security, then I'd recommend getting some metal lock cores to be put in here, because right now they're just going to come with plastic lock cores. So they're not going to be lockable at this moment. But what's nice about those metal lock cores you can get later on, you can actually get them key-to-like with any of your other Yakima accessories too. From this point, we can get a few measurements too, just to see how this is going to fit on your roof. So the first measurement I'm going to get is going to be the overall height it adds. And that's going to be a little bit over 4 inches, which is important to know if you're going through any areas with pretty low clearance. So if you're going into a garage, that's definitely something to think about, especially if you have any gear on top of this. In those cases, I recommend just taking the total height of your vehicle, crossbars, and those accessories too. Now for the space in between your roof and the crossbar, that's going to be just about 3 inches, which isn't a whole lot of space. It's definitely something to think about when you are putting on your clamp-on accessories, and most of them will fit. Now, the amount of room you'll have to adjust them might not be a lot. Another thing to think about too is, in our case, we do have a sunroof, so if that does extend up and back, that could get in the way of our clamp-on accessories too. As for your crossbar spread, that's going to vary because this doesn't use fixed mounting points, because those straps just wrap around your raised rails on your roof, so you can really adjust them wherever you want. And that's really just going to depend on the gear you have and what crossbar spreads they need. As for the weight capacity, that's going to be up to 165 pounds. It is important though to check what your roof is rated for. I'd recommend just finding that in your owner's manual, and then going from the lowest rated component so you don't damage anything. In my opinion, I think this is going to be a great choice for you if you are looking for something that's going to grab onto your roof really snug and tightly. Now, there's other options out there too, like the Telluride Roof Rack, and what's really nice about that is it's even easier than what we have today, and I think it's going to have a little bit of a better look on top of your roof because it's just going to match the design more. But what the Yakima Roof Rack has over the Telluride one is it's going to give you that better grip overall, like I was talking about earlier. And as far as the installation, this is a little bit more complicated than the Telluride one. Not by much though, it's still pretty quick and easy. But if you are curious to see what that looks like, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through the process. To start off the installation, we're going to lay everything out. So furthest away from me, we're going to have the crossbars, and next to that, we're going to have the towers and their end caps. In the center, we're going to have and include an Allen key to help tighten this down. It's going to have a built-in torque device so you can find that right spot to really tighten it into place. And we're going to recommend grabbing a tape measure to make this a lot easier. We're going to start by attaching the towers to your crossbar. So we're going to flip this over and remove this end cap. Usually you have to just lift up on that tab. It'll come right off. We're going to grab our tower. Now if you don't have your block already installed, you just have to grab this block, flip this over, and line it up with this bolt that's in this hole and tighten it into place. After when you do that, it will be attached and you can put it on. Now I like to put mine on from the same direction, so I'll flip this around so this bolt is facing in towards our bar, lining that block up with that channel, and I'm going to push this on to the other side. And then I'm going to grab the other tower, put it in the opposite direction, and put it on this side. Oh, I missed. So I'll just have to try again. Line it up. And just don't forget to put on your end caps. I recommend tightening this down just a little bit. So we'll come over to this bolt that's inside this hole that I was talking about earlier and try to tighten this down all the way. If that's already tightened all the way down, you'll be able to tell by a click. And you notice this is still sliding up and down our tray or our crossbar, and that's going to be because this bolt that we have over here inside here is still kind of loose. So if you just tighten this up a bit, that's going to give you a lot more resistance having this tower into place. I recommend doing that too because when you are trying to place this on top of your roof, this can slide all over the place. So just having some resistance on here is going to prevent that. And just make sure you do that on both sides. We can start putting it on top of our roof. We also want to make sure it's in the right orientation. So we want to make sure that this thicker side is facing forward and this thinner side is facing behind us. After when you've done that, we're just going to roughly place this where we need it to sit on top of our roof, lining everything up. And then from here we can adjust. Before we fully secure this down to your roof, we want to get some measurements. Now you'll notice that we already have our rear crossbar on. It's going to be the same process for both of them. But once you do have that rear crossbar on, you really want to account for your crossbar spread. The second measurement we want to get is going to be the overhang we have. So what we're doing here is just going from our tower to the end of the crossbar, and we want to make sure that's the same on both sides. If it's a little bit off still, what we have to do is just grab the tower and the crossbar and either push or pull on it. I find it's a little bit easier just to push on the side that you need to adjust. And after when you have everything down, we can start tightening this into place. To tighten it into place, we want to grab this strap and wrap it all the way around until it's aligned with these hooks. If yours isn't long enough to reach that, all you have to do is find this bolt and loosen it up. But in our case, we're good, so we can start tightening this down until it's just a little snug. We don't want to tighten it too much, because what's going to happen if we tighten it too much is going to pull too much from one side and give us an uneven fit. But when we're getting a little bit of resistance, it's not a bad idea to come up to this bolt up top that attaches or tightens your tower to your crossbar, and tighten this the rest of the way. After when you've gone back and forth, you can finally tighten this down the rest of the way. And like I said earlier, it'll let you know when this is still the way tighten when you hear that click. And there it is. We'll grab our end cap too. Just place this on until it clicks. And at this point, I recommend giving it a good shake test to make sure everything's secured and feels pretty good. And if it does, you can load it up with whatever gear you have and go take it on a ride. But that's just a look at the Yakima Roof Rack on our 2024 Kia Telluride. Thanks for watching.